Yes. Please don't. Whatever the question, her answer remained the same. Ja, era. She never married, never had children, never dated anyone. She lived out the rest of her days alone with her aging mother. I heard my great-aunt's story when I was a child growing up in Finland, and although the adults spared us the details of the interrogation itself, everyone understood, me included. Years later, I wrote my novel Purge and its precursor, a play of the same name, because I was tracking the progress of the Balkan War crime trials. I was frustrated by the fact that rape camps had been set up in the heart of modern Europe. But the initial impetus for Purge was my great-aunt's story. What happened to her had been allowed to happen again, and today it is happening once more, once again, in the heart of Europe. My great-aunt never received justice. No one in my Estonian side of the family did. Family farms were lost, many died, and many were deported. Only 2 of my relatives managed to escape on ships heading west. Of course, no one expected justice during the occupation. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, however, everything changed. The Baltic states regained their independence and began the process of decolonization that is familiar to all former colonial possessions. In the Soviet Union, the study of history was strictly a political field. Its purpose was to spread Soviet propaganda. After the occupation ended, research, science, culture, and the press were freed from this totalitarian yoke, and the public discourse naturally flourished as a result. Anyone could now speak openly and freely about the past. You could now study it, and you could discuss it in the light of day. Words regained meanings that corresponded to people's experiences. You could talk about deportations as deportations, and the occupation as an occupation. The investigation of Soviet-era human rights crimes began, but the USSR's legal successor, the Russian Federation, had no interest in helping, let alone apologizing. Western countries did not meaningfully encourage Russia to undertake the process as they had done for Germany after World War II. Perhaps they didn't consider it necessary because the crimes of the Soviet era were not deemed important enough, at least not as important as shaking hands with Putin or laundering blood money looted from the people by Russian oligarchs. Because these past crimes were overlooked, Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine in February 2022 caught the West by surprise. From an Estonian perspective, the war in Ukraine feels like a rehash of the 1940s, as if someone insists on pressing the replay button because Russia is up to its old tricks. We have seen and experienced the same practices before: the terrorization of the civilian population, deportations, torture, Russification, propaganda, show trials, sham elections, victim blaming, waves of refugees, cultural annihilation. However, the general astonishment of Western countries revealed that they are unfamiliar with the Russian imperialist playbook. And it is precisely this astonishment that demonstrates why past war crimes must be relitigated, why they must be investigated, and why they must become cemented into our cultural memory. Without an awareness of these crimes, we cannot recognize the warning signs. Although the history of other former colonial powers is a staple of Western curricula, Russia has yet to be interrogated through the lens of colonialism. The countries of the former Eastern Bloc, which make up half of Europe, experience the rule of two different totalitarian systems. Yet even so, this experience remains to be recognized in the common narrative of the European continent, nor did it become a historical memory of Europe as a whole. Memorializing these experiences is also a form of justice. When the slogan "Never Again" was repeated in the West after World War II, it rang hollow in the ears of all whose lives included Russian repression. Human rights violations and occupations did in fact continue after the fall of Hitler's Germany.